dollars per rider.
Oh, yeah. You think they'll pay it?
Yeah. Most of them are that much or more.
Okay, I'm streaming now, so.
Okay. I don't even have my computer up. Do we trade
Whatever.
places, don't we,
Oh, we'll just stay in the same places.
for this time?
Yeah, we'll just.
Oh, crap, and I forgot my...
You need?
Okay, you ready? Okay. Welcome, everybody. Not too many here today, but Monday, the 9th day of January, 2023. And we will start out with a prayer from Sam Woodall and a pledge from George.
Our kind Father in heaven, we thank Thee for this day. We're grateful to be present here in these chambers to discuss the affairs of Iron County. Pray a blessing be upon each of our commissioners that they can consider these issues carefully, that the affairs of the people can be conducted properly and in good order. Grateful for this country in which we live, for the many freedoms we enjoy, for the blessings of this area in particular. Grateful for the people of Iron County. Pray that as we go about this day, we might have Thy Spirit to be with us, and this we pray for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Hey, join me in the pledge.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We are going to start out. We're going to let Rex Ship. He would like to come and visit with us for a few things, and we're going to let him go ahead and talk to the commission today.
Thank
So
you.
go ahead. Thank you.
Appreciate this opportunity, and I know it was a last-minute thing. I called John late and said there's just a few things I thought it would be important as we're getting started on the session. Starts a week from tomorrow. And we just had our all-day caucus. The majority caucus in the House did last week, and there's a few things that we discussed that I thought it would be good for you to be aware of, and because your input's important to us, and would like to encourage you all to, as commissioners, to attend the session as much as possible. I think there's a lot of things that happen up there. There's always a good group of commissioners that are up there on Thursdays and Fridays. We got the Rural Caucus. It's a great breakfast on Fridays. Some of you have been there. And, of course, Thursday they have the Yellow Cake Caucus that Representative Lyman started here when he came in. And it was designed primarily for him because he covers 6 counties, and it's a way for him to get his commissioners there and to talk, but it's expanded from there too. So anyway, we'd love to see you up there and want to hear your concerns. One of the things I wanted to go over with you real quick today, I don't want to take very much time, I know you got a lot going, as we went over some things with the budget. As you know, you've heard, the governor's put out his wish list. They always call it the governor's budget, but we know that the legislature is the one that sets the budget, but certainly leadership takes into consideration what the governor's concerns are. But we went through with Jonathan Ball, who's the state's, he's a great, he is so smart, and has done such a great job for years. And he went over the budget, and by the time they got through some of the preliminary budget, he came down to some one-time and ongoing potential money that's available for tax cuts. And there's going to be a lot of discussion, I'm sure, with the representatives and senators as to how we're going to take care of those tax cuts, because there's a lot of ideas floating out there. And one of the ones I've expressed that I would like to see, and a lot of the representatives, is we need to give some of it, just give it right back, send a check to our citizens. It needs to be part of it, and I think you'll see that happen. But there's $800 million one time that's available to cut, and then there's $422 million ongoing. And so as far as a lot of the one-time, excuse me, stuff, that's a primary spot where we could just give some of the money back is what I think should happen, if not all of it, frankly. So just be aware of that. If you've got ideas that you want to let me know about, or Carl Albrecht also represents the county as well. Let us know what you'd like to see happen as well, because this goes back to all the citizens, and we want to make sure we do what's right. There's things floating out there about cutting the food tax and Social Security, raising the limit more on Social Security, and et cetera. So anyway, that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay. Also, we put together the 2023 House Majority Caucus, put together our policy priorities. Now, this is a booklet that talks about those items. I have this in digital format. If you'd like to, I could email you a copy of this that you could look it over to kind of see where we're focusing. I'm just going to highlight a few things here. A lot of it is stewardship with our natural resources, and I know that hits home especially to Commissioner Wood, when you're involved in the ranching business. We need to safeguard those resources, and one of the big issues, that's come about the last few years has been our water issue. A couple of interesting facts. There was some calculation done that Utahns conserved about 9 billion gallons of water this year, with all the information that was put out there. A lot of people stepped up and saved a lot of water. They just made a comment in here that's enough to fill Panguitch Lake. Well, that's a long ways from what we need to be able to do if we stay in this drought. Now, right now, we've got a great water year that started. And I have to say, if we're ever going to get completely out of the drought, it's going to have to be, our natural flow. Heavenly Father's going to have to help us with sending more rainfall. I mean, you can always only do so much. But there's some ideas floating out there. Some of them are kind of far-fetched, but some of them maybe make a lot of sense, And so water is important. There's people that are saying, well, maybe we need to get the water from agriculture. I totally disagree with that. We need to produce food, and ag, it uses 70 to 75% of the water, but it needs to be that way. So there'll be some things coming out on water. Our reservoir capacities, for instance, the median reservoir capacity from 1981 to 2022 was 70%. It would start out about 60 and rise to about 70 and flow back down to about 60. So it would float between 60 and 70% capacity. In 2022, it started out at 40%, got up to about 47%, and dropped clear down. Right now, in November when this was taken, it was about 33% reservoir capacity. So it's way down there. And so there's some, again, there's concern. They're putting money out there to help with that. But there's talk. People are saying, well, take some of that money and just buy the farmers' water and let it flow into the Great Salt Lake. I have to tell you, I don't agree with that idea.
I don't either, I have to say. If you take that water away from the farmers, they'll never farm again.
Get it back.
We need that economics, and we've got to have that. I mean, if we do away with our farmers, then we're dependent on other places, other countries for our food, and we really need to not do that.
Yeah, and there's some things, they talk about agriculture or water optimization, and I know there's been a lot of that's gone on.
And a lot of that.
And if that'll free up some water for them, but those water rights are owned by those people too. Mm-hmm. So,
yep.
And I know there's been some legislation passed the last couple of years that allows some leasing of water by groups that can let it flow, but the rights are not ever totally given up, which is good. So there's some water banking discussions and stuff going on, but one of the things that's going to be really important for our county, and as you know, I've been working on this for ever since I got in, as far as to help our water project, the Pine Valley Water Project, is what I understand from Paul Monroe is we're supposed to have the determination made by the BLM sometime in late spring as to whether they're going to approve the NEPA process. Mm-hmm. I think what you'll see that once that happens, I went to the Water Commission with Paul during the interim this year, and that was one of the things that came out of that. They said, well, don't feel like we can really, put money towards that and things, the appropriation side of it, until we know that it can go forward. So I think if that NEPA process is approved by the BLM, I think you'll see some things happen with that. So hopefully keep our fingers crossed.
There's also been some fear of, pending litigation between counties on that, but we've won that.
Yeah.
We won that in a court. It was adjudicated to the Water District through
Certainly
the
was.
5th District Court, and so that's, in my mind, that's been put to bed. So there might be some litigation obviously from environmental groups that we have to work through. But
well, and there was some discussion at that Water Commission meeting. A gentleman got on online and commented, Mr. Winch out there, West, Mark Winch, concerned about, he runs his whole entire operation off that spring. And of course, Paul's comment about that was, well, in our plan is we would make you whole. If for any reason that slowed the flow, we're going to make sure we get water to you.
It would be monitored.
Yeah, it's going to be
heavily
monitored. So
and his springs come up out of the mountains high, and the water that the district will be pulling is about 6. I was out there when we cut the caps off those wells and ran the equipment down, and it's about 600 feet down.
Yeah.
That water, there's some that's 300, some that's 600, but they don't believe through their studies that that's connected. But he would be made whole if there was a problem.
So water certainly is a big concern, and especially I know in our county. Energy, Utah's been a net energy exporter, I should say, since 1980, producing 26% more energy than consumed. In 2020, we became a net importer of energy, and we know why some of those things are happening. We have, of course, our hydro is going down with the lake going down, and they're getting rid of some coal-fired plants. And Utah has a policy where we're in all of the above for energy, whether it's solar, wind, nuclear, coal, the whole works. And you can't really move to green energy until the technology is there, and that's the whole thing that we push. We have
It's not ready yet.
Earl Albrick is the chair of that public utility. He's an awesome. That's been his business his whole life, and he does a great job there. Land management, of course, we're always fighting the feds on control with Bears Ears and some of these things. And I don't think I want to take any more of your time. I know your time is valuable. Housing's an issue. There's been some discussion. You got supply and demand, and right now the supply is down and the demand is high with Utah's economy. Our state has been ranked number 1 for 15 straight years with ALEC, which is the American Legislative Exchange Council. They do a study every year of all the states. Utah's been number 1 for 15 straight years, and you're seeing it because people want to live here. And so we got a lot of issues to cover with that. Housing's a problem. Water's a problem. So a lot of issues on our plate to try and solve, the best we can. You can only do so much with that. So anyway, that's kind of a quick report on a few things we discussed and I just wanted to make a special invite for you to spend some time on the Hill, and I think it'll be valuable for you, and I know some of you do, and it's a trip up there. It's not cheap to go up there for sure. So any questions for me from you folks?
We'll look forward to seeing you at 4:30 here for that water meeting today.
Is it 4:30?
Mm-hmm.
It's been moved up. I thought it was 6.
I have it down for 4:30. I didn't. Unless it changed and I didn't know about it, but I have it down for 4:30.
Parowan Valley groundwater?
Uh-huh.
I had it down at 6.
Well, there might be a grant, but we were going to meet with Carl and you and Evan at 4:30. Garth Green and Paul Monroe and I and Paul
Okay, well, I
Bittman.
haven't gotten that in my calendar, but I can be here.
Be here. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me double check that, but if you can put it down, and I'll reach out to
Double
you.
check it and,
Okay.
and let me know for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Look at a text message from Garth Green. Oh,
Okay.
there's a group. Let me look. Let me see. But I'll text you.
Yeah, send me a text and I'll be on my way.
Will you send that to me as well?
Yes. Yeah, I'll forward this information to you,
Okay.
folks. Okay.
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a great
Rex.
day.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
that.
Rex. Appreciate that. Okay, let's approve. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes for 12:30 and 12:12?
I'll move for approval of the minutes for the dates as listed.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Can we get a motion for approval of claims?
I'll move to approve the claims for payment from December 12th, 2022 to January 8th, 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we will move to presentation of training regarding open meeting laws presented by Sam Woodall, and we do this every year because it's important.
I've tried to make it a little more.
Oh man, look at the pitchforks.
That's a little less funny once you've lived it.
True.
Last week for me.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Turning those for the vast throng that's here.
Not really well. So. All things considered.
Yes.
All right. At the outset here, it's nice to just refresh. I feel like the commission as a whole is very cognizant of these laws. You pause, you consider, you consult with Ask Me, and so I'm not terribly concerned, which is a great thing. So this should just be refresh. In that spirit, let's go ahead and kind of just lighten this up a little bit, okay? It's not.
I'd like to
Jeopardy,
point out that as the
Jeopardy.
attorney, you may have misspelled the word there on
No,
purpose.
no. This is anti-plagiarism.
Right.
So.
That's it.
It's not Jeopardy, it's Jeopardy. And, I'm
that's
definitely
awesome.
not a host.
In light of Karsten's experience last week, did he send you that graphic of the first?
No.
Karsten?
You should have. Okay, here are your categories. Ask a lawyer, dang definitions, probably policy, quiet quorums, stupid answers, and written writings. All right, we'll start with Commissioner Blake.
Oh boy.
Go ahead and pick a category.
I'm gonna go quiet quorums for 200, please.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. The answer is quorum means a simple majority. A quorum may meet without holding an open meeting when convening for this type of action. Doom, 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 doom.
I'm gonna say what is administrative?
You are correct.
Oh.
Administrative
good
action.
job.
Very good, sir. Commissioner Wood.
Oh, geez. Ask a lawyer for
Ask a lawyer.
200.
The answer is this person who is not John Whitaker ensures members of the public body are provided with annual training on requirements of open meetings.
Sam Woodall.
Eh.
Oh,
The
well,
correct answer, anybody?
is lawyer is
Who is? Sam?
Who is?
who is
No, I'm not even getting that
Yeah.
technical.
County Attorney's Office.
No.
Oh.
Who is the chair or presiding member of the public
that's
body? So it's actually Commissioner
Me?
Wood who's in charge of making sure, but we have good
Goodness.
staff to help you with that. So just a fun fact.
To the law.
Commissioner Cousins.
Stupid answers.
Stupid answers. Here we go. Answer is rules that govern open meetings are found under this act.
Open and Public Meetings Act.
That's correct. What is the Open and Public Meetings Act? Mr. Whitaker, you want to take a stab at one?
All right, let's see. Have we done probably policy?
No?
Let's do probably policy for 200, please, Alex.
The answer is action taken in violation of the Open Meetings Act may be voided in court. A suit to void final action must be commenced in this many days after the date of the action.
What is 90 days, Alex?
90 days, that's correct.
Alex.
So we did that one. Dang definitions. I'll let anybody answer this. This definition means the convening of a public body for the purpose of discussing, receiving comments from the public about, or acting upon a matter over which the public body has jurisdiction or advisory power.
A public meeting.
Correct. What is a meeting?
What is
Public
a-
meeting.
what is
A
it?
meeting.
Just a meeting.
I think the peanut gallery needs to put on the spot. Hold on, I'm talking from here on out, choosing a category.
Okay, Mr. Reed. The answer is this writing is kept by John Whitaker during closed meetings. A record, a written minutes or recording, both. But
Recording.
the writing in particular, he keeps notes as well that don't have to be disclosed, except under court order. But we'll talk more about that.
All right.
All right. Now let's get into the boring grain. So
You
the
could
whole
probably
purpose.
sell that opening thing.
I
to-
think
You think so?
could.
You could probably market that.
I don't know. I needed to do something to change it because
I
we've done
love it.
the public policy of the Open Meetings Act is important. The legislature made this express finding that the whole reason for this act was so that we, as the public body, could conduct the people's business in their interest and in an open and not hidden manner, essentially. The language that they say, conduct their deliberations openly and take action openly. So they like it when you are able to receive information, discuss, and make decisions on the record. That is the policy. So what does the Open Meetings Act do? It covers a lot of information. I got to let that graphic go all the way through before.
Cool.
Of course, as we discuss the policy, we take our actions openly and transparently. It also provides for the notice rules, for record making and record keeping rules, and the process and participation. So this is all encapsulated in our Open Meetings Act. Who's subject to this law? Well, unfortunately, because we're here, we are. But specifically, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty, an administrative, advisory, or legislative body, created under rules, 2 or more people, spends tax money, and has authority to make decisions regarding the people's business. So those are the people who it applies to. It's kind of obvious for you because you conduct Iron County's affairs. This might catch up people who are in a different public body that maybe isn't as open. Of course, we have like the Planning Commission. Let's look at some other examples here. City Council subject to it, the Planning Commission, the Board of Adjustment, and special districts would also be impacted by the Open Meetings Act. You're not affected if you're a chair acting an administrative role. Political parties, community councils, staff meetings. We don't have to notice or hold a public hearing or meeting. Let's go back to our definition of what a meeting is. It means the convening of our quorum. So just 2 of you in a room together could technically constitute the quorum for a meeting. But of course, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of that too. For the purpose of discussing, receiving comments, and taking action. That's the key part of this definition of a meeting. It's not just, well, I have a slide for it. What is not a meeting? Chance meeting. You see each other at the gas station or at the local diner. A social meeting, going to a party affair or a county event, doesn't constitute a meeting because even though there is a quorum, you're not taking any action. Emails and texts, so long as no decision is being made, doesn't constitute a quorum for meeting. Meeting of a legislative body with these responsibilities where no funds are appropriated and you're meeting solely for the discussion of administrative or operational matters. That happens frequently because people have questions for the commission and it's kind of convenient to make sure we're all on the same page. And again, specifically administrative or operational matters that don't involve saying, all right, I need you to spend this or I need you to contract for that. We have decisions that we can make on a regular basis. Did you know that you can attend electronically? Yeah, sure. We've done it before. I think Commissioner Blake has been electronic, and then I think Commissioner Cousins also has appeared by phone. And notice requirements still apply for that. And then the public can They still have to have a means to attend. That's why we still hold the meeting here, but we allow people to be on the phone. And then, of course, there's a rule that we've adopted to allow us to meet electronically as well. Closed meetings. This is also a fun topic. When you're discussing character, professional competence, mental health, basically any personnel discussion, that is a reason that you can close a meeting. Also, strategy sessions to discuss collective bargaining, security discussions, when you're investigating potential allegations of criminal misconduct, trade secrets, commercial information, and then the big one, big two, here's one of them, is discussing pending or reasonably imminent litigation. And then the last one is one we are familiar with, which is discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or sale of real property. Those are probably the two most common ones we close for. John, have you had any other experiences where you've used other items to close meetings?
No.
Anything coming to your minds?
Talking about odds for the Super Bowl, maybe.
Trade secrets right there, commercial information.
Reasonably imminent litigation.
I know I know a couple of times we've had personnel issues, but that's few and far between.
Correct, yeah.
So.
Maybe 3 out of the many list there. Here's a caveat here, though. Are there meetings that must be closed for you guys? Tell me what you think.
Must.
Must. You have to close them.
I don't think there's any.
No. Oops. I pushed the wrong one. At least not for you. You have absolute discretion to always choose to close the meeting or not. And so I think John's done a really good job of kind of expressing that anytime we close it. It's up to you. You don't have to close it, but you can for this reason. There are some
For
special
example,
groups.
the Bryan Head sale,
Yeah.
that was one that you opted
We
not
kind
to
of went
close.
back and forth on that, but we ended up staying open for
And
that.
I thought it was a good meeting. There are special groups that have to close, but again, not applicable to our commission. So here's what needs to happen if we are going to close. You have to have a quorum present. You have to hold the public meeting first and give proper notice before you go into the closed session. I think that's not news to you. You've always done it that way. You've come sat on the bench, and then we've said we're going to go in. You have to publicly disclose the reason for closing it, the location of the meeting. That's kind of a technicality that I haven't really paid attention to, but we always share that we're just going to be here. And then the vote. That's done by virtue of the fact that we take the vote on the record, but we have to disclose the vote and whether you voted against or for the closing of the meeting. Here's what you don't do during a closed meeting. Don't approve any ordinance, resolution, rule, regulation, contract, or appointment. Final action takes place out here, so basically it's saying don't approve anything back there, but you can discuss it. Don't interview a person to fill an elected position. I thought that was an interesting one, but there's probably a good reason for that too. And don't take final action except in a case of judicial or quasi-judicial decision, such as an appeal. Again, those are fairly few and far between, but the commission will sometimes act in the role as the appeals board or whatever that case may be. That's considered quasi-judicial, and you can take action in a closed meeting. Final votes, though, are open and on the record, and all judicial or quasi-judicial decisions are announced on the record. Notice requirements for closed meetings, just generally.
So on closed sessions, one part of closed sessions is we actually have to, in the minutes, have an affidavit that the chair signs. And had a conversation with our liability person at USIP, our Utah Counties Indemnity Pool, and he's like, listen, we kind of do that as a matter of course, but it's kind of a big deal that you as the chair are swearing that nothing that wasn't part of the reason for the closed meeting was discussed in the closed meeting. And there is like a potential personal liability if that's the case. Now, that's scary, except that Sam and I will be careful to not let you go afield so that we don't have a problem with that. But when you're the chair, you're actually going to sign that affidavit saying, health character and welfare of an individual or real estate or whatever was the reason we talked. But we didn't talk about a bunch of other stuff while we were in there. Any other stuff.
And so that should promote the chair to also be careful of that too, because you're thinking, I don't want to get hung out to dry for this. So if I'm signing this, you guys better help me. So
Right.
you you can feel good about it. As far as public meetings and notice, you can feel comfortable knowing that John and other staff know these requirements really well. But just for your benefit, got to post it at the office or the place where the meeting is held. Got to get published in a newspaper of local circulation, and then the public notice website, John's Nemesis. Just kidding. I'm sure it's fine.
Sometimes.
At least 24 hours prior to the meeting, you got to post your agenda, and then it gives the action items with reasonable specificity. There's some cases that maybe have been called into question. I haven't found that here. We do a pretty good job of saying exactly what needs to be taken action on the record. Do you agree, John?
Yeah, part of the process is for those agenda items require more than that, more than reasonable specificity, and then we also try to have something for the packet as well. Now there are times like on a discussion for like jail property or whatever that maybe we don't have a lot of specificity other than to say we're talking about, land acquisition.
Right. Right. For good reasons, though. And then, of course, date, time, and place.
And one of the things I just wanted to clarify on that second bullet point,
Sure.
It doesn't have to be published in a newspaper. It must be given to a newspaper. And in Iron County, we send it to all of the print and television outlets. That's just part of our distribution list.
There's a dissemination of the information to those locations. Emergency meetings, we've had a couple of those, but the law allows for us to do that if we give good notice or the best notice possible, and then minutes include a statement about what the circumstances are. Again, John is really good about making sure that we do that adequately and give a record of it. Speaking of records, written minutes are taken of all open meetings. A recording of the open and closed meetings are also kept. Specifically, like I talked about before, these closed meetings are confidential. They're not released except under court order. And then as far as not keeping a record or minutes, the only exceptions are if we're having one of those personnel executive sessions or security executive sessions. And then in that instance, we do sign the affidavit as well, indicating that was the purpose of our discussion and what we talked about. But there's nothing preventing you from keeping record, but as far as statute goes, and given the highly sensitive nature of those discussions, might sometimes be in the better interest of the commission. But those are discussions that we can have amongst ourselves with staff. These are the requirements. As far as minutes go, include the date and time, place of the meeting, names of everyone who's present. For those of you who have actually sat down and read the minutes, these are things that you always see as far as who's there, when it was, what was discussed. And that was what I was saying. All the things discussed, proposed, discussed, decided. All the names and substance of information from individuals giving testimony. John's really good at succinctly providing all that information. Votes on the matters and any additional information requested by a member. I don't know if any of you have ever done that. John, have you ever had a request from one of our members to include specific information in your minutes?
Sometimes clarification.
Sure. Okay. All right. When are they open? When are the minutes and recordings of open meetings public? Yeah, basically given to the public. So unapproved, still in its draft form, 30 days. And then we post it to the website 3 days after they're approved. Minutes released prior to final approval are identified as those unapproved. Recordings of open meetings are available within 3 days of the meeting, and then minutes and recordings of closed meetings are not public records. So again, those closed meetings are actually called out in the statute as protected records under GRAMA. And then site visits. When's the last time we did a site visit, John?
The jail, the Fiddler's Canyon potential jail site.
So that was last year.
Yeah.
And again, don't have to record it as long as we're not taking any votes.
Yep.
Okay, here's what happens if somebody violates the act. First, If you intentionally violate this act, you wouldn't do that. But if you do, it's a Class B misdemeanor. So always play dumb is my advice. No, just kidding. This is a recording. This is a recording.
So is this an open meeting now?
This is an open
Okay,
meeting.
okay.
That's correct. I know the commission here would never do anything intentionally. A court may void any action taken in violation of the act. You can also cure it by, in a subsequent meeting, ratifying or openly discussing what was done in violation. So there are remedies to be had for violations. And like I said, we're usually, I can only think of maybe 1 or 2 times since my time here that we've had to at a subsequent meeting just clarify, just in case even, it wasn't even a blatant violation in my opinion. But we can do this, and then now you know, don't intentionally do this, or you may have to pay court costs and attorney fees. So let's talk about ways that you can avoid the pitfalls of violating the Open Meetings Act. Most common ones are closed meetings. Among those, closing meetings without voting, without coming into the open meeting first and then closing, those nuances. Conducting a closed meeting for reasons other than those allowed by the act. So maybe we didn't get it
And
exactly right.
One of the things that we do as a practice is we list the subsection of law and actually ask you to make that as part of your motion so that we can include that in the minutes, and then that also goes to the affidavit that the chair signs.
Correct. And John's right. We don't necessarily have to call out the reason that we do it, but we do it as a matter of practice, and it's good because it covers us. We cite specifically what the reason is. Taking official or final action in a closed meeting, with the exceptions that we talked about. We don't usually see those. Failing to provide proper notice is a common pitfall. And failing to provide adequate notice of a public meeting. I don't see this one happening very often, but it can happen if you're not reasonably specific. Although not a specific violation of the act, it's a potential due process violation to allow public comment on a pending application where the applicant hasn't been given proper notice. So typically what we'd like to do is have plenty of opportunity for the applicant to receive the public comment and take questions and give feedback. Reed does a good job of fielding that. Something to think about, though.
So there is a potential pitfall here, and that is when you look at the line item for public comments, it actually has a, it says only for items not on the agenda, and this is part of that reason is you don't want public comments on an item that's, that a person hasn't been noticed for, that will be on the agenda. And so that's, and that.
Public hearing,
Yeah,
especially.
if you've got a public hearing coming up or whatever, that there's a potential there to violate the act this way if we allow someone to speak when it's not really about that item. That's part of the reason that clause is in there for the public comments.
Yeah. Any questions about that?
It's a little wonky, but it's important.
It is. And the chair has that responsibility to kind of conduct those public comments. And so if you have any questions, John or I would be happy to help field it. But generally, every commissioner here that I've seen act in the role of the chair has done a really good job of making sure that we keep it pretty specific to what the agenda says. So as far as enforcement of this act, obviously our office can take action to enforce it, the Attorney General's office, but for your benefit, you should also know that a private citizen can take action in court to enforce the Open Meetings Act. Like John mentioned in his winning answer, they have 90 days after this. It says after discovery of the violation. The statute specifically says you have 90 days after the action. So that's a little confusing. I would go with what the statute says, and that's 90 days after the action you have to file it. 30 days if it involves certain activities not applicable to the commission. I don't have any current trends to discuss. So you guys made it through another presentation of this meeting. All of your eyes were open, and you should really pat yourselves on the back. Okay.
Thank you, Sam.
I'm going to say not the quickest rendition of that training that we've had. I think Mike Edwards did that in 4 minutes one time.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
4 minutes.
For the record, I
Wow.
think.
But I would say absolutely
him an A
the
on
most
that.
entertaining, the most engaging. Not the quickest, but absolutely the most engaging.
I agree. I think that's why I think you should market
Pretty
that.
yeah, I'm pretty impressed. How long did that take for you to come up with that?
spent much time. I'm not good at making those answers. You know, I can like ask the questions, but
Yeah,
We should hire him
That
out
was
to other
pretty-
counties.
that was dang fun.
You make
Okay.
a YouTube channel of boring lawyer stuff made better with Sam.
So now we will go to commission reports, I believe. Paul, do you want to go first?
Sure. You betcha. We in our Iron County, what did they change the name? Coordinating Council, what's now Iron County COG, whatever it is.
ICCG.
Um,
CCCG.
Kendall Allen was there and reported that he's got a really good progress on our map. It's a multi-layered map that's digitally going to be put on the website. That's going to be awesome. And
What was the map for?
it's, well, when we went to our UAC fall training, they talked about the BLM is going to go through and make some major changes on roads like RS-2477 and some of those things. And they said if we have a really good map in place and all of our roads listed on it, that they have to consider all of them. But if we don't, they don't. So it's really important we do. So Kendall's working on that, and he's done an awesome job.
There's even cow trails.
There's layers.
Layers and
started out with
layers.
7 layers. I think he's got a lot more than that now, but it's awesome.
Cool.
Fire station, final walkthrough for the fire station in Newcastle is today. I'm going to run out there today at 1 o'clock. And then I'll be back here at 4:30. We're having a water meeting with Mayor Green, Evan Vickers, Rex Ship, and Carl Albrecht, our representatives, to talk about some effluent uses in Cedar City and maybe some potential funding. And then I just want to bring up, I am going to be in Washington, D.C. on February 13th. I'll miss that commission meeting. I'm on the Public Lands Committee, and if I don't show up to one of those soon, Leland Pollock's going to string me up. So,
We better figure that out because I'll be there for justice and public safety as
yeah.
well.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
And so we might need to move that. We
We
should have
could-
brought that up in our
Yeah.
approved our schedule,
But
but
we could cancel or postpone, or we have, and we're going to verify this, but we've done the ordinance for remote meetings. And if you're, for that time, if you're not busy, then otherwise we could.
Pretty hard.
that would be
They're
hard because their
probably
general
pretty-
session out there is. I was looking at
All
the agenda, and it's going to probably
first thing in the
conflict. So
morning.
we probably need
And
to either
it's-
move or cancel that meeting.
What we could do is start putting items off when people let us know and bump them to the next meeting or try to get them to this last meeting in January. Or if there's something emergent that we can do a special meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's
it's good to know.
all I have.
that's okay. You're up, Mike.
I don't have a whole lot.
Christmas. There wasn't
w-
a lot going on.
No, it kind of shut down at the
Yeah,
end of the
it
year,
does.
which was kind of nice. I met with the fire chiefs the other night in our quarterly fire chiefs meeting. I'm really proud of our fire departments. They just coordinate so well. There's not any competing over things. For instance, George is in attendance to all those meetings. So is the sheriff, but George is really good at finding grant money for radios. We're all switching to the 800 megahertz system, and George is by grants for radios, especially in Newcastle and Burrell, has saved the county thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to make sure that all of those vehicles are upfitted, all the personnel have the required communication systems. And so that's something that's just been great to coordinate that way. I just want to give a shout out to the sheriff's office. Everybody knows we had this incident, multiple homicides in Enoch City last week. Sheriff Carpenter was there. Sheriff Carpenter also provided assistance with crime scene investigation and brought the mobile command center so that there was a place for investigators to go, get out of the view of the media, drink some pizza, the usual fare. The sheriff's office VIPs, the volunteers actually helped manage the crime scene over the next couple of days. Generally, crime scenes like that are not released until after all the autopsies are completed, just in case we find things that we need to go back in for more scene investigation. Instead of putting personnel out there that we have to pay overtime, basically for 3 days, the VIPs really stood up. And I want to recognize the VIPs, not only from the Sheriff's Department, but the Cedar City Police Department. They helped cover that crime scene. There were officers from the Cedar City Police Department that assisted in the investigation, investigator from the Office of the Medical Examiner. I would say, this is a small rural department in a small, rural section of Iron County, and it could not have been handled any better had anybody else, any other jurisdiction from the state, have a similar thing. I'm just really proud of those guys, and we had really every department reached out. Parowan PD reached out just to see if any resources were needed. Bryan Head, the Sheriff's Department, Cedar City Police Department, everybody came together, and it was just managed really, really well. Kudos to Rob Dotson and Jeff Chestnut from Enoch City. They handled the public information side of it really well. Chad Dotson, our county attorney, was on scene, doing those things. It just couldn't, for such a tragedy that just sucks and there's nothing good to come out of that. Our resources were really impressive all over the county. And I attribute that back to meetings like the quarterly fire chief meeting and the task force committee meetings that are held every month. Our public safety officers spend a lot of time together outside of crisis. So when crisis hits, it's just handled. It's handled as professionally as anywhere else in the world. So just kudos to all those people and thanks to those people. Just want people to know that there are resources for the community that are grieving. There are mental health resources. Reach out to those. Those can be coordinated through Enoch City. Those resources are out there both for children in the schools, for folks in the community. That is all those needs have resources. So we encourage people to reach out. And if you're struggling, if for whatever reason, I've run across a couple of people that are really struggling and they're like, I don't know why I'm struggling. I have no connection to this. But it's important to take care of yourself and take care of your own mental health, whether you think that you need to or not. I mean, if you're struggling, get some help. Talk to somebody. It's important. Mental health, it's a real thing. Don't trivialize your own feelings because you don't feel that you shouldn't be connected or whatever. It's get some help. Get feeling better. That's all I got.
Okay. I'm just going to bring up a couple of things. Like I said, during the Christmas holidays, there's not quite as much going on other than family, which is very important. But we had a couple of people leave the county, and I just really want to say that the people in our county is what makes our county so great. And I didn't mean to get emotional. I usually don't, but Judge Margaret Miller just retired. She was with the county for over 40 years, and we really need to give her a shout out because she did a great job. Dan Jessen, as we all know, our auditor, left and went to Parowan, which Parowan, I'm sure, are thrilled to have him because he is such a great resource. And we just want to tell him how much we appreciate him. We're a little mad at him, but he
Change the
is-
name from Trader Joe's to Trader Dan.
Yep, Trader Dan. And the last thing is I just want to tell the Enoch folks that our thoughts and prayers are with them. And also the first responders. I know Mike was very, very instrumental in that whole thing. And we just want them to know that our prayers are with them. And, you know, a lot of people put stuff out on Facebook and that, but I felt like this was an appropriate place for all of us because all of us are, you know, hurting because of this, especially the families and the friends, you know, and Enoch especially, because most of those people, it just touched so many lives and so many people. And I just wanted to tell them how much our thoughts and prayers are with them. Anyway, I think we'll adjourn and we'll come back at 10 o'clock. We're actually before. That's kind of weird.
Just back to your Judge Miller comment.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to Justice Court. I was wondering why we haven't had a kind of a farewell, and that's not something she wanted to do. We tried to do it.
We tried, yeah.
I'd like to echo your comments. We just appreciate 50 years is an amazing career. So appreciate Margaret.
Yep.
And I tried to have something ready for this meeting, and the Enoch thing got in the way. But I'll talk to you guys offline. Got some things.
There are some things in the works.
There's some things in the works, and
Okay.
I'll
Some of them are a secret as of yet. Okay.
Well, don't tell her because she's.
and I'm afraid of her. That's part of the.
I think most of us are.
She's like a second mom. I grew up in her house with Gabe.
Oh yeah.
I'm freaked out by her from the time I was 16 years old. So she knows that.
Yeah.
So
Alrighty, we'll come back at 10. Thanks, everybody.
tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the barn, my family's doing an open house.
Okay, welcome back to our 10 o'clock meeting, Monday, the 9th day of January, 2023. We will go to agenda item number 1, public hearing, discussion and possible approval of a proposed zone change from residential 1, R1, to rural agriculture 20 acre RA 20 and a minor subdivision plat. It is 87.161 acres, and it is located approximately 563 South Spring Creek Road, Canaryville. And Reed,
Thank you, Commissioners.
hand it to you.
I don't think I've ever been to a meeting.
I know, nobody's
There
here.
is absolutely not a soul. I don't know how many are online, but we'll say hi to them. The zone change request, we'll run these together because it's the same property. We can have one public hearing, and then we'll take 2 separate actions, one for the zone change and one for the
There are 9 people watching.
Oh, okay.
6 of them are probably at the courthouse.
So we have this property is located just south of Canaryville, right on the Canaryville border. I know that a couple of commissioners were at the Planning Commission meeting the other night, so you saw some of this, or maybe you didn't. You were too busy talking to Rich and distracted on see what this was. So we'll, but you know.
I know.
Yeah.
Give your jab.
I mostly for Rich's benefit, so he's listening. This is there's a lot of topography on this property, and so the best development area is down towards the western bottom side along the highway, or along the road. That little road that goes in is Spring Creek Road. This is where the transfer station is, if you're familiar with that, for Canaryville. So Canaryville ended up just acquiring this 15 acres right here. It's 13 something. And then they've got 2.5 or 3 acres right here. They're looking at potentially annexing that into the town, but they did have no interest in annexing this. And they may not even annex this. They're working on their annexation policy plan currently and deciding whether they want to go beyond their boundary at all and include any other property. So we'll see whether that happens or not. But this particular property, the family just wants to split it into 2 parcels so that they can give 20 acres to their son and let him build a house on it. So the property right now is zoned R1, as it is surrounding all of Canaryville on all sides there. And the rest of this property is zoned A20. So you can see the topography here. It goes quite steep up along this hill, and these ravines are quite steep. So their development potential is really down here in the bottom, and that's where they plan to drill the well, create the lots. This is just the zoning map that shows the property that's to be rezoned from R1 to RA20. This is the way the property would be divided. There would just be a 20-acre parcel carved off the north side right here. And really, this is mostly where the bad topography is up on this side. So most of this lot is accessible and usable. And then it leaves the 40 or 66-acre piece here on the bottom. So there is good access along here. This is a county road maintained by the county all the way down into Spring Creek Canyon. This is a gravel road. This is a dirt road, but then this is pavement. So they have good access right here, and they can take the frontage off of that road without putting any new roads in. The improvements for the property would come from a well and from septic. They would follow the WUI code. I think we've covered most of the other things. There's not a lot of development plan there, and so there are being no variations requested for the subdivision. Of course, the zone change is up to your discretion. So that's the introduction. Unless there are any questions, we can go to the public.
I have a question. So is that big drainage pond thing on that piece of property?
The dike, part of
The
the dike is
and-
on the property.
Uh-huh.
This you can kind of see here.
Yeah, seeing that's the pond
So
down there.
Well, and it runs all through here,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all the way through these properties, and that dike kind of runs all the way along here, but it does,
The detention pond is on their
Detention
property.
Is on
pond
this
is on
corner.
that.
Do we have any kind of easement or right of way or anything
think-
to have that?
Didn't Rich say that he'd
Yeah,
be willing to allow us access to allow Curtis to clean it out at least? I don't know if we've memorialized that. He probably would want us to do that, Rich would, to put an MOU in place so that we can access
Yeah,
it.
I
but-
think
Yeah,
we
and-
need one of those.
and we don't have anything necessarily on the plat. It's called out right here. This drainage is actually called out on here. So it does identify where the dike is and what it is. So I'll visit with Rich about that.
Yeah,
It
that's
didn't
a good
actually
idea.
have the plat, the Mylar prepared to sign, and so
It
we
does.
can still add a note on there or
It
something.
does seem to say drainage area per exhibit and MOU with Iron County.
Right.
So, I mean, the
I
plat
mean, I don't know
contemplates
what
it.
we would do without that drainage. We
Yeah.
have to have that drainage, and I think we should have an MOU for sure.
And the idea here is to share a common driveway, so they'll come off of this point and then they can go into each property. Even though this one does have plenty of room down here to
Access, yeah.
access it as well, but, and then where there's such large frontages, that it really wasn't a concern because it's not really that busy of a road, so. But they do have good access off of there, and there is a recorded document already for that shows that it's there. And that's the reference of book and page on that easement.
But can we get a MOU and maybe put something on the plat?
Did you say there's
For
one
that?
listed already?
Well, it talks about an MOU right on the
About
plat.
it?
So I would
Already-
Oh,
imagine
have
we've
one.
already got it then.
it's either that or it's in the works. I mean,
Okay.
I can't imagine Rich will let it go without.
Yeah. Will you check on that?
Yep,
Rich?
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can have a we'll open the public hearing on agenda item number 1. And since we've got so many people here,
Keep your mouth shut, Terry.
and now we'll close the public hearing.
Terry, this isn't
Give
church.
it
Get up
back to-
front.
Agreed.
And I didn't call you Larry either.
I might.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did you close the public hearing?
I did.
This is the policy criteria or considerations, evaluation criteria for the zone change. We've reviewed those and found that it is in compliance and doesn't really have any issues there. So the first action would be on the zone change. And I'd left this from the planning commission, sorry about that. It still shouldn't say recommendation. Recommendation to the county commission, action by the county commission, sorry.
Okay, I guess we can, so we need to do 2
The
different,
zone change first, and then I'll give you a sheet for the subdivision.
can I have a motion on that?
So I would move for approval of the proposed zone change from residential 1 acre R1 to rural agriculture 20 acre or RA20, a minor subdivision plat, Glen Knudsen, minor subdivision, 2 lots, approximately 87.61 acres, located within the description as outlined in the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, on to the minor subdivision. This is the ordinance criteria for the findings. It falls in compliance in every way with the ordinance, and so staff recommendation, planning commission recommendation was that it be approved. There are no variations requested, so it's just a straight up minor subdivision approval of 2 lots.
So that's the motion.
I would do that with the note that you want to make sure that there's a drainage easement agreement, MOU, in place to be able to maintain that drainage.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we do a minor subdivision with 2 lots and recognize that the MOU regarding the detention basin that's been in place for probably over 100 years is very critical. It was built by the CCC, right?
Yeah, a number of years ago. I don't know how many.
I know that rock work was.
30s,
So it's-
in the
so it's-
30s, that's when the
it's a long time.
CCC
Coming on
were on
100
there.
years.
But it's
Yep.
critical to the safety and welfare of that community. So that would be my motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 2 and reorganization of the commission assignments, which I don't know that we have a lot, but we have a few to talk about, and appointment of a new commission chair. And I have to say that I was very reluctant to be the commission chair, and I've actually kind of enjoyed it. So,
Done great.
no. So, should we talk about? Let's talk about the assignments. There were just some corrections, a few corrections. We did change. I talked Mike out of the fair. I love the fair, so I took over the fair a few months ago, but so we needed to change that over onto me. And Parowan Airport, we need to change to Dan Jessen because he's there now. Flood waters, where Paul deals with the engineer and they're pretty much over all the flood. We thought we'd put that all under Paul with Richard Wilson. Is that good?
Yeah, we
And-
changed auditor liaison. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
changed Dan Jessen to Luke Little.
To Luke Little, exactly.
Lucas.
Yep, Lucas. Any others that we?
And then
With CJC, we were going to change that to Wendy Jessen.
Oh, right.
Remove the reference to the fair under Mike. Change Jean Roundy to Maria on
Yes.
shooting range.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Shooting
correct
range.
a misspelling on Maria's name for tourism. And then I wanted to ask, do the UAC committees or NACO committees, are they all correct for you?
yep.
Yeah.
I actually got asked to be on another one, but I can't remember the exact name, so
Just tell me if you
I'll
find
let
out.
you. Yeah, I think it's policy
NACO or?
with UAC.
Okay. Yeah, let me know when you for sure.
Okay.
I'll update it here.
Okay.
Do we want to remove the reference to the Southwest Planning Authority Council, or do we
I
want to keep
think
that?
so.
I
I
probably
don't know that we've ever
Probably,
had contact
yeah.
there. But
We haven't done. Just take that right off.
Okay.
I would say.
okay.
I'm not sure who took
Any of
Wes's
these others?
place on that.
Do you want me to look into that before we do anything?
Maybe check with SU
Okay.
and C and
Okay, I'll investigate that.
Okay. Is that all on assignments? I think
Yeah.
that's pretty.
That's enough for me to have marching orders.
It's pretty
We
easy.
do need to get that changed on the
I did
website.
I did submit that to them right after you told me,
I
but
know. Yeah.
I don't know that they've had a chance to do it yet.
Well, with the new changes,
Yeah.
be great. Okay, well, I will make a motion to appoint Paul Cousins for the chair for the coming year.
I will second that.
2023. All in favor?
Aye.
I voted nay last year.
And
The
you've-
only thing
and
I
you've rocked
wanted
it all year. You've done awesome.
Okay, so we'll
all right.
turn it over to him.
Thank you. We'll go to agenda item 3, public comments. Time limit 3 minutes per speaker. Should not repeat others' comments, only for items not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll go to item number 4. Commission approval of designated county contacts and managers for the State Special Needs Registry. George Colson.
Morning, Commissioners. I know we've done this before, but the state swears up and down that they've lost the paperwork. So we're going to do it again. In the past, they've had a special needs registry in Utah that it used to be maintained at the county level, and then they moved it up to the state. The state is now rebuilding that process to identify those people then in a disaster that we would need to respond to, that would have issues that would make them less able to survive any kind of major disaster. Of course, HIPAA comes into this very heavily. This is a voluntary registry, You've got the thing from the state, which I will. I guess Commissioner Cousins is now the chair. You would like you to sign, and they asked for 3 designated points of contact to receive this information. Because it's public safety, and the county emergency manager is the primary contact in every county, I designated the sheriff and Chief Phillips, because we will be the 3 that probably will be responding to any of this in a major disaster anyway. So I would ask that the commission approve this, and I'll get this up to the state, and hopefully they can maintain custody of it this time. We don't have to do this again.
There you go.
It'll be no. And then that'll be the second line's for me.
Do we put iron right there?
And while he's doing that, just to let you know, and this isn't part of this, but since we brought up the water thing this morning, I talked to Rex. He gave me Representative Albrecht's number. I called him immediately, and I've got a legislative contact to reach out and look for some of that grant money to harden some of our water sources. So, So I'll continue to work on that, and we'll get that done.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
Entertain a motion.
Excuse me. I move for approval of designation of county contacts and managers for the State Special Needs Registry. George Colson be the point of contact for that.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And whenever you get that signed copy, John, I'll send it up to the state.
Can you stick around for a minute?
Yes, I will. All right. Thank you very much.
George.
Thanks, George.
Okay, we'll go to 5. Review and possible approval of land acquisition from Enoch City. We've got the meeting may be closed pursuant to Utah Code Section 52-4-205.
Would you want to do personnel first and then do that? Or
Well, I don't even know
What
if
is
we
the
need.
probability
Why
of-
would we even need to close this
we
one?
wouldn't. It's
don't-
totally up to you.
I don't
It's
think-
in writing. It's all pretty well established. So if you
Yeah.
want to just hold
I
that item,
think
we
it's-
can do it.
And we'll always give you that option, but you don't necessarily have to.
Rob's here.
Rob's here.
Rob from
Let's-
Enoch City Manager, you want to?
I don't know that we.
I don't
need
think we need to
that
really
either.
close it.
Mm-mm. I think we need to get it out, what we're doing.
Yep.
I mean, we've talked about it a few times, but
I mean,
the public needs to know.
it's not like we're purchasing it.
Calm down, people.
They're all over the place, aren't they?
I think it's church. Everybody's in the back.
We've been discussing donating this land in Enoch City for the Children's Justice Center to the county. There have been a few changes. I know you've been aware of the agreement that you're discussing and must discuss with yourselves that myself and our attorney and Mr. Woodall have put together to donate the land. In concession for that, we would receive some improvements to your roads.
It's such a good deal.
It is really good, and Bruce Anderson has been tremendous, of course, and Marilyn, or Commissioner Wood, and Sam have come out to Enoch to look at some other improvements that could be done for drainage that are needed. But there's been a couple of changes. One specific change we'd like to present to you, I brought some maps, is there was a misunderstanding. There's 5 copies there. The easement that was part of the agreement was actually not the easement we thought it was.
Oh,
If you look on the map there, you see the park, the baseball diamond, right? And to the south is the property that we'd like to donate. trade. What are we going to call it, Sam?
A drug deal. That's what we call it.
That's how we refer to these things in the county, as a drug deal.
Yeah. Anyway, the property to the south, on the property description, it lists an easement, a 60-foot egress easement. Come to find that is actually to the west, to the property to the west. I actually took
Show us where that is.
I think it's this.
Oh, so
You got that set down.
goes that way.
So
isn't
this
it?
is south. This is north?
Right.
Okay.
It's this one, isn't it, Rob? This skinny piece right there.
Back on the microphone here. So the property, the Braley property to the south,
It's upside down like
Okay.
the
this.
southwest corner, the 60-foot easement is actually the north of that property. And the city actually vacated that easement. Yep,
North of that
exactly.
property, okay.
The city vacated that easement a few years ago on behalf of the Braleys. But the city also owns the property, that sliver to the north, or that rectangular piece on the west of the park. We own that. The other thing came up is when the park property was donated to the city, the agreement was that it would always be a park and never be used for anything else. So I had to research that. I found that out from the previous family member of the donor who's passed away some time ago. So I had to do a bunch of research on all the agreements and recorded and all that kind of stuff, and found out that it is just the park property with the baseball diamond that has to stay the park.
Oh, well, that
The
probably
property to the
gave you a
south-
little heartburn for a minute, didn't
Yeah,
it?
we were freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
The property to the south that was owned by the Braleys, and the city purchased it.
Oh.
So we're okay. The property that says it's owned by Enoch City to the west is 84.64 feet wide. In conversations with the Friends of the CJC and with, I'm not sure, Mike or Commissioner, were you in that conversation? And with the police chief and others, 84 feet is huge. And it includes trees, city park trees. So,
I was not.
okay.
No.
So-
I wasn't in that meeting, but I wasn't in the meeting, but we've discussed it.
Okay. So the city council approved reducing the size of that and taking the trees out of that parcel to the west and giving that parcel to the CJC also.
For a driveway
For a drive.
to that
Yep.
back piece.
Yep. And actually, we had discussed joining those two lots and just making a flag lot instead, but the city council knew that there's a time element in this, that the Friends of the CJC want us start digging tomorrow type thing. And it would just complicate things if the city had to join that and go through the process to make one parcel. So the city council approved last Wednesday in a very quick and abrupt meeting that we would reduce the size of that, the width, and give that piece also
Nice.
to the county for the CJC. So
So
we would have to change the agreement.
We'll add some, you'll do a
We'll
lot
add
line
some to the
adjustment
park
and then shrink that.
and shrink that up. Now, the issue with that is that it leaves 60 foot, but the Braley property to the southwest,
How does it work right here, though? If you-
that's the problem. Because the Braley property to the southwest, there's that jog, that corner, which is 30 feet, and then 30 feet would be the access. Talking with the Friends of the CJC, they don't think they need 60 feet for an access. But the city council didn't want to make things complicated for a time element. So if the other option was to actually change the boundaries on the west side too and give 30 feet or 10 feet or whatever to those property owners on the west, of which I am one. So that didn't turn out very well in that
Oh.
meeting, of course.
That might kind of look bad. Is that what you're saying?
They said, well, if the county wants to go ahead and do that after the fact, that's up to the county. It'd be your property. You can make a determination for yourself. It's just maintaining 60 feet is for what, So
Well,
we
yeah,
just want to give
probably
you the
not
60
very-
foot is
Yeah.
what we're saying. So before this transaction takes place, before we actually deed the property over to the county, we will do a boundary line adjustment on that park parcel and reduce that west parcel to 60 feet. And then if you agree today or whatever your process is to agree to a draft agreement with that part changed.
So you move this line over.
Yep.
How do we get, and the driveway will be on this, down this boundary
No.
right here? Or
No, it'll be,
It'll be right here on the east boundary next to the this is a tree line.
That's a tree line right here.
That's a tree
this
line
right, this will
right
be
there.
access here?
Okay.
Down here, okay.
This is a tree line, they said.
And this is the line that, okay. I
But
see. So it gives us room to get through that, sneak through that.
yeah,
corner.
and
Give us room, and then if we wanted to reduce this and
And-
after it's ours, then we could dispose
'Cause
of this little chunk.
I think we'll go in there and chip seal that when we're doing the other.
that's what we
Just-
talked about.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's,
So that's why I'm here today, is
I
just to
can't
give you that new
imagine-
information. You guys can decide if you want to approve it through your process as soon as possible, so the CJC can start moving on getting bids and
yeah.
getting stuff done.
And I think you can fashion a motion to say approval of the agreement as written with the finalization of the amendment to include this change, and that should be sufficient for today, but
What would we do with the property to the west? Just dispose of it to the proper, I mean, what?
We could give it
We
to the
wouldn't want it to-
property owners. I
I
mean,
mean, can we, I mean,
When it's
what are you
yours,
going to
you
do
can
with
do what
that
you want with
property?
it.
It's
You're-
that skinny little
So we-
thing. I
okay.
don't
So
know,
after
but
we own it, we can do what we want with it.
Yeah, the Friends of the CJC did discuss, and you weren't in that meeting, you were busy, but they discussed maybe putting parking on that side, but then they started putting the footprint of the building into that south piece, and they got so much parking.
Oh, it's huge.
yeah,
It's
it's a huge.
for the size of the building, even if it's expanded later,
1 acre's big.
there's so much place for the parking, and they don't need that much parking because, you
Yeah.
know, it is a quiet
yeah.
use. There's not going to be,
Yeah, there's
you know, you're not
the
gonna
only
have, it's
time
not a
that
community
there's
center.
very many is
Yeah.
when they have board meetings or something like that. That's about it. So
And so that's this, the city council is proposing to give you more property. If you don't want it, you know, then, wow.
we get that. We'll think about
I
it.
have rewritten the agreement to take out the easement portion. We'll have to rewrite the deed, of course. Take out the easement portion and add that other parcel to the agreement, and I would send that to you for your.
this doesn't change the substantive terms. The county is still agreeing to participate in these improvements to the surrounding areas and in
it
exchange
doesn't
for this
change anything
property.
of that.
So I would recommend approval of the agreement with the amendments to the deed. And
Has the agreement been drafted yet?
it has.
Okay,
And it's been
but
s-
it's not on the agenda here today?
Oh, if it hasn't been, that's my fault. I have a copy sent by Rob. He sent out the final draft, the final.
We talk
proposed.
about the land acquisition.
You want me to send that to you? Oh, you,
I
so
don't
you're
want to
saying
put,
we
I
didn't,
don't,
we
I don't
didn't
want to
call
throw a
out-
stick in the spokes. I just,
You're saying we didn't call out the approval of the agreement in this?
yeah.
So what do we need to do? Can we
What's
not
the time-
approve it
what's the
today?
time frame?
It's all
They
up to,
want
it's
it.
all up to the county, really, because the agreement stipulates that the road improvements won't be done until 2024. So it's not like on our,
But we're going to be doing the road improvements.
you're doing the road
Yes,
improvements.
yes.
We're
We
backing
just
off
we
and
just
saying,
need the CJC to go forward, and they're in a hurry. They want to go.
They want to move.
They want to
And
move.
I think
Well,
we would be okay because the discussion was for the acquisition of the land. The fact that it didn't call it an agreement, it is in writing, and I have a copy to share with the commission. I
you can,
I think they've looked at it as
if
well.
you wanna-
But
if
it
you
will
wanna
be
approve-
amended.
Sorry.
It will be amended as per this
Amended.
discussion.
Correct.
with that.
but if you want to approve the acquisition of the land, and I
That's-
think that's Sam's point, you can approve the acquisition now, and I can have the deeds to
The
you
agreement can happen in a
Later.
subsequent.
as soon as
Yeah.
possible.
As long as it's approved.
And then the rest of the agreement, and we did the agreement on, only because Sam is good attorney and he wants an agreement. We were just going to hand over the land and you guys tell us here. But Sam's smart,
And stuff. He's smart and stuff.
his job.
Stuff.
So I think that's pretty much it. Do you have any more questions for me?
Can you be my PIO?
Nope.
Okay.
I told
Only
you
if it's-
privately, but you've done a remarkable job.
Only if it's about things like this.
There you go. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
You make me look good, so that's fine.
I think you approved just like it's written on you approved the land acquisition. we'll let the agreement take care of itself at a later time, and that allows everyone to move forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's amicable anyway. It's not like it's,
Okay.
I'll move for approval on the land acquisition from Enoch City. This meeting, and as stated by all, I guess.
I'll just second that right now.
so let's, if we could,
Do you want to
Do you
put
want to
something
include the
else in
easement
it?
discussion a little bit, or just
not
per,
even that.
per
just
Rob's?
state the APN, and I stepped out during that part. So it's the ACE.
It's not in there.
It's on the map.
Is it 0768 AE-0768?
Is that the one?
Is that
Is it the one on the west?
parcel number? Is that it?
Is that the land? Yes, that's the parcel number. Is that the land?
Oh,
A-0781.
Here, but that's this is the easement. This is the land.
This is the easement.
We want to
So
stay
this-
both.
Both. They're both.
Well, I would say just the land acquisition because the,
Okay.
the
Well, there-
agenda item didn't contemplate the easement.
so there'd be two. There'd be
Not an
two.
easement.
Well, there's two.
It'll
Yeah,
be
so you're going to give us this property
two
and this
pieces
piece.
of
Is that correct?
property.
So there'd be two APN
state-
numbers.
So state the two.
State those.
both those numbers.
Yeah.
That one and that one.
Okay.
That way we're clarifying.
A-0781-0001-0005 and A-0768-0001-0002.
Perfect.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you,
Okay.
Rob.
Can I just,
Thank you to Enoch City.
not on your agenda, just a statement?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I have meant to contain myself. I hadn't planned on this.
I already got emotional earlier.
Everybody does. Anybody with a soul, anyway. The events of January 4th and 5th, we won't go into. However, I need to tell you that it was like, and I'm going to say what I personally believe, God's hand was in the aftermath. Because the good people of Iron County, and I'm talking about your sheriff's department, played their role perfectly. They need to be commended. The Iron County Sheriff's Department, the Cedar City Police Department, and the Enoch City Police Department, it was like smooth as smooth could be in the horrendous and horrific events. And Commissioner Blake did it out of the goodness of his heart. I don't need to say much more than that. But Iron County Sheriff's Department is amazing, and we appreciate the partnership that we have. And thank you. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you, Rob.
Should've-
Thanks, Rob.
Okay, we'll go to agenda item 6, personnel. Jennifer.
Thank you. Good morning. In the auditor department, August Franklin was selected from the most recent competitive recruiting and selection process to be promoted from an accountant 1 to an accountant 2, effective January 8th, 2023. In the Sheriff's Office Victim Service Department, Jaden Thomas was selected from the most recent competitive recruiting and selection process to be promoted from a Victims Advocate to a Victim Service Advocate Program Manager, effective January 8, 2023. And Taylor Wallach was selected from the interview process to backfill as the full-time Victim Advocate, effective January 23rd, 2023. And then in the Landfill Department, Billy Leverton was selected from the most recent competitive recruiting and selection process to backfill the vacant full-time landfill technician, effective January 9th, 2023.
Any discussion on this?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move for approval of personnel issues A, B, and B on the. We'll assume that that's
yeah.
a C. Fine.
Good job.
Second.
As outlined by Jennifer.
I'll second that.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thanks, Jennifer. Could we call that A, B, and then BA?
ABBA, yeah, it was musical format or
Whatever
gene
that is.
editing, yeah.
Just kidding you.
Okay, we don't have any boards, huh? Do we?
I don't think so.
I know. I think we're caught up.
No non-delegated?
Well, that was a
Don't
nice
believe
short
so.
meeting to start the year, John. Thank you.
I'm here for you.
That's awesome.
Does the chair declare? Oh, sorry. I
Chair declares a good job on a short meeting. And that we adjourn.